This is BayRadio.
Delighted to welcome back Mr. Richard Wijeratne and Steve Jarman of Xabia International College. Well, welcome back.
Morning.
I mean, your email to arrange this said, sorry, we've been a bit busy here. No, I didn't find it hard to believe either. The last time we spoke to you, just heading towards opening the secondary school, of course,
That's right.
the new term. So, did you make it?
Well, yes, we did. We survived. I mean, it was a very interesting summer. A summer that was exciting, but also one of those ones where you couldn't actually predict where we were going to be, because everything hinged on whether we were going to be able to get into the new secondary school. And if we could get into the new secondary school, we moved the secondary children, and then we split the primary site into two, and we move our older primary children into our secondary, our then current secondary school site. So there was so much hinged on whether we would move or not, and that was really very close. But I think the last time I was here, we congratulated those people who were responsible for building the site for us, and they really did pull out all the stops. So we were in a situation where we could only tell just at the end of August, the very beginning of September, whether we would have the building in time.
Yeah.
And then everything just shot forward, because you then press all the buttons and say to all of the staff, okay, we're go, and you move one school to the new school and another school to the current secondary school. So it was a busy time.
Yes, I mean, I did sort of get in touch with you, say, are you coming in next week? You said, well, a little bit preoccupied at the moment, sorry, we'll see you very soon.
Yeah, we were driving vans around the place.
Yeah, people wouldn't believe that you were hands-on and doing that yourself, but you'll be sleeves rolled up. I mean, we saw you around, we did the video, of course, which is on our YouTube channel, when they were still working on the place, and it looked to be coming on. But it was, fine. It came down to the last minute.
It was the simple thing was they had to secure the building, put the doors on it.
Right.
It sounds absolutely crazy, but we couldn't put anything in it until they put the doors on it.
Of course.
And once they got the doors on and we were secure, then we could go. But I know Steve will talk about it shortly. But we are very privileged with the colleagues we work with, and I can never praise them enough, because we literally said, listen, guys, we are go, and we are going to have to move in 3 days. And that is move everything in 3 days. That's every desk, every shelf, every book, every television, everything has to go in 3 days. And they did it. We hired a couple of vans, because with the greatest respect to removal companies, and they are brilliant, I know, but we have to be flexible. We had to be able to say, look, this van goes there, that van goes here, such and such a team is emptying vans over there, such and such a team is putting desks in over there.
I suppose they know their own individual stuff, and
Absolutely.
They're responsible for that, yeah.
They did, but a huge debt of gratitude to the people we work with, because theoretically they were still on holiday. But that was the last thing in their minds. What we know and what we can see is that they were really keen to create an environment where our youngsters, who we could welcome back to the college, would be able to come back and enjoy their days immediately. That was really key, and it's key to what we do. We want them to be happy, but we want them to be happy in a nice surrounding. But what is fantastic, is we've focused quite a lot on the conversations I've had with you and with Mike over what we're trying to do with moving our secondary school. But honestly, there has been almost not a revolution, but it's been a transformation in what we can offer in our primary schools, and that's why I'm really delighted that Steve's joined us today, because he can tell you a bit about what's been going on there.
Yes, Steve, how are you enjoying the new space? I suppose you're getting a bit more room to play with there.
What's been lovely is not only the work which Richard's mentioned in moving from one site to another, but the way that the teachers on both sites have worked since the beginning of term to personalise both sites. We have lots of walls that are painted with strange things, flowers, sayings for the children, pencils and flowers for the little ones. So the staff are really behind what we're trying to do. And it's worked very, very well. It was necessary, because naturally the classes are in bubbles in primary, which is good. But from year 2 up, they still have to wear masks, which in itself we thought would present a problem, and actually hasn't. The younger children Perhaps the secondary children, perhaps a little bit different, but certainly all the children we have in primary have adapted to it very, very quickly. They wear their masks all day. Naturally, it's not ideal, but they've got on with it. And to be quite honest, I talk to parents at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, and the parents have more problems with it than their children do.
Yeah.
So it's lovely to see the children in school with their friends, in their bubbles, and enjoying being back at XIC, which for us and for them is their family. So it's been a really, really good start to the term. Amazingly, it's been very tranquil. Now we've got a little bit more space, a little more room for parents to arrive in the morning. We have a staggered entry and exit, and that's worked very, very well as well, both for the children coming in and for the staff. So in terms of organising what we've had to do to get the children in, that's gone like a dream. We are absolutely delighted, and I will reiterate what Richard said. I can't thank the primary staff enough for their commitment and loyalty to the dream that we want to carry on pursuing, which is XIC.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, sorry to interrupt, just for a second. I mean, it was quite amazing. I was Saturday morning. I'm not too sure what I was doing, but I looked at my phone, which is always a mistake. But I looked at my phone, and Steve had sent me a WhatsApp, which was a photograph of staff working, painting murals in the primary school. I went across about an hour later to have a look and see what they were doing. It was staggering. The idea has always been to try and create an environment which is not only an area that they play in, but it's an area that they learn from. And this is exactly what there is there. There's a solar system in there. There's all sorts of work with maths. And the children would see this and they notice it and they're learning from it all the time. But the staff are taking their weekends. They were taking their weekends to do this. So, the whole point of it is, I'm seeing it all the time with colleagues in XIC. Yes, it's a job, but it's very much more than that. It's very much more than that. And their job is made that much easier if they create an environment within which the children can enjoy and learn.
Sure. I mean, if it's taken some getting used to for yourself, particularly, Steve, with the new restrictions. I mean, of all the things I used to get told off for at school, wearing a surgical mask wasn't one of them. But you must that would be the obvious thing to keep an eye out for, I guess.
Yeah, we do. But as I said, the children have adapted to it very, very quickly. And the teachers are very responsible. All the teachers, we've all had our COVID training. So the teachers are very aware of the things that we can and we can't do. And we've made the children aware of the things that they can and can't do. So there's regular hand washing. Masks are worn all the time. Even though our very youngest ones don't have to wear a mask in school, because it's up to 6 years old, they still wear a mask when they come in and leave the school, or if they're moving around the school. So if they're moving out of their bubble, then they're protected, and everyone else is as well. So in terms really of how the children have adapted to COVID, they've done it very well. Our protocols are quite strict, and they're followed religiously every day. So every morning, every child is zapped with the temperature gun. So we check that for every child that enters the school. If a child, as children do, feel unwell during the day, the first thing we do naturally is check the temperature. The guns are very good. How accurate they are, I suspect they're not spot on. So we double check then with a digital thermometer.
Right.
If it's just a very slight temperature, normal for children to feel a bit poorly, and then the child will go home. So we've got all that in place. We have COVID rooms. We have specific staff on all the sites who can deal with any issues that come up with any children. But for us, it's the children, always. I mean, we always come back to the children, and they're the ones that have made it such a brilliant start to the year. Because they've come in, they're happy to be with their friends, they're happy to see their teachers. they still leave at the end of the day with a smile on their face. Well, we think they do. They've got masks on, but we think they are.
Yeah.
We're getting used to recognising eyes now. So.
Yeah, is it big incorporated into the dress code for the school? Like, what's
there's
what's
off
limits as far as
in fairness. But I mean, when Steve was talking about the primary school, it's exactly the same in the secondary school. They've reacted with incredible resilience. I think is the word. Young people, by definition, the older they get, it isn't that they necessarily need to be cool or whatever, but they want to look the part, and the mask doesn't really hit that. I remember in the holidays we took a short trip away. I took a photograph of my 3 sons, and they all looked quite good in the clothing that they were wearing, but the photograph was totally marred by the fact that all 3 of them were wearing a mask.
Yeah, sure.
So if you look at these as teenagers, it's the same thing in secondary. They have complied amazingly well with all of the protocols that we put in place, exactly the same as with primary, with the temperature guns, with all of the cleaning of the hands, with the gel dispensers, and as people, they get into the process. What was particularly impressive was, when you move to a new site, as each of these staff, some staff in primary were remained in their own original sites, but the vast majority, I'd say over 60% of our population, staff-wise, started school in a new environment. They had to learn that environment very quickly, and then make the children or try and encourage the children who joined us on the 9th of September to enjoy their experience very quick, as quickly as possible. That's very impressive, because it's not easy when you go to a new site to know where everything is and how everything works.
Sure.
And there's a lot of training going on to use the new Promethean televisions, which are, in fact, we went with these because they are absolutely the top end of the range of technology to be able to use them in the classrooms. But some of the teachers are still learning.
Well, yes. I mean, that's a good old tradition as well. The teacher used to ask for help setting up the VCR in the classroom when that was wheeled in back in the day. Not a clue. Plugging the cables in and stuff. But yeah, so you're all trained up on that.
The process is ongoing. Because really, if you look at your mobile phone, there's probably 90% of, well, certainly for me, 95% of my mobile phone I don't use.
No, right.
So the idea is you need to understand how to use this technology and use it to the best for the children. But I mean, we found that the secondary children, they nobody likes to wear the mask.
No.
With the greatest respect, this conversation isn't all about the masks, but it's a fact. They do wear them. They wear them when they do sport, but they're able to stop, take a drink, move away, take the mask off when they're distanced sufficiently to be able to just take a rest and enjoy not having to wear that mask for a short period of time. But we have to comply, and we do, and we will. And the whole point of it is to protect.
And yourselves walking around the school, you're wearing masks when
absolutely.
You're in the building,
absolutely.
all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just give you a very short little story that I think is indicative of how well the children have adapted? I covered a Year 1 class a few days ago, so we're talking about 5-6-year-olds. Now, we've taught our children that when they go out, they do their hands. Up to playtime, when they come back in, they do it. Lunchtime, they wash their hands thoroughly before they go to lunch. So it's there all the time. After lunch, I brought the children back into class. I didn't have to say anything. The first child that walked through the door, the first thing that child did was go and get the gel, and as the children went in, they just squirted the gel on their hands, so that all the children had it. And this is 5-year-olds. Mm-hmm. So they are remarkable. I think they can show a lot of adults the way to go, to be quite honest.
Sure.
But it's made it so much easier for us because they've taken on board the training and the instructions that we've given them. And it's just become part now of their daily routine. The children like routine, so it's part of their routine, and they just do it.
Yeah, they become used to it. Yeah, I find that in the secondary school student, they're just good to be around. They get it and they understand.
Yeah.
And I'm it's a horrible thing for young people to have to be living with. We just need to hold our breaths for a second and flip back 1 year or flip back 8 months and remember where we were.
I was going to say to you, imagine us talking this time last year. Yep. You couldn't possibly imagine what this is
not at all.
Like a year's time. We'd never believe it.
Not at all. And children across the globe are going through this process. We can only talk about our children and the experience certainly that we've had. It's a pleasure and it's a privilege, and it actually makes us stronger. And I think I spoke about this before. It's brought people together. It's made us stronger. We've had a huge intake of new children into the college in September, and they've had to how do you make a friend behind a mask? It's a really incredible thing to have to do, There's a new child comes into your college, they're wanting to make friends. Facial expression is how humans communicate in many ways, So that's a challenge. So you're relying on the people who are actually who have been present in the college, the friends, the buddies, whoever they've been buddied up with, in order to help them ease themselves into the new school. That's really, really important, And I again, we talked about the staff, but I must say the students have been phenomenal. To try and welcome new people into the college in these strange circumstances. So we're moving on, and I'm delighted that the name of XIC is sort of travelling far and wide. We've got an issue now where the new college, the new school, was built to accept 20 children in each class. That was our maximum. That's our protocol. With the COVID restrictions, that, of course, reduces down to 16 and 15 in some classes. So many year groups are now with waiting lists. Yeah, I've had to turn away a couple of people just yesterday, and it's a really sad thing because they want to join the college. We'd love to have them with us, but it's impossible at this particular time. So as soon as we get back to the normal, these lists will be able to sort of service the people who are actually on our waiting list.
Mm-hmm. Just gone 20-11, mainland Spain, 20-10 is all in the UK and the Canaries. And talking to Richard Wijeratne and Steve Jarman from Xabia International College, we've covered the secondary school. And you made it in time for the new term, which is quite something. So just give us an idea, because I'm sort of picturing high-tech stuff in there. Just give us an idea of what's different and what's new in the school.
Well, I mean, we did talk about the technology and the televisions, but the site had a wonderful old villa there, which we completely gutted and put in a science department, science block. So there are 4 laboratories there. Beautiful laboratories for chemistry, physics, biology, but also there's a 10-sided food technology laboratory. Okay. So it's got 10 cookers in there. It's got a whole load of fridges and everything. And we're just about to start. It's difficult to actually cook in there because of the different restrictions we have just now. But the children will shortly be taking advantage of that. We've got a lovely indoor gym, which currently is doubling up as classrooms because we have to socially distance and use those areas. A huge Commodore, a huge dining room. Again, it's our Year 8 classroom. So, these times, and when I speak to people who work in other schools all over the place, they're talking about having to adapt in such a way. So the buildings, I think one of the most beautiful things about it is they flow very nicely. The children have not too far to go to wherever they need to be. And in a secondary building, the idea is certainly at this time is not to have them travelling too far and wasting time between lessons. Mm-hmm. When you write a school timetable, you don't want to have too many lessons in a day, because every time you have a break, it takes some time to get settled to move. So the actual site itself is delightful. And when you stand at the far end of the sports court and you actually look back across the whole of the new college, it's a fairly sizable site, isn't it, Steve?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the biggest thing. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of my old primary students, which is always lovely, and every single one I've said, how do you like the new school? And it's, Mr. J, it's absolutely brilliant. It's large, and we've got space. We've got this lovely technology. They love it. I think for me, we've now got a really lovely balance, because secondary children need and deserve a site that's specifically geared to the things that they need to do. So it has to be specialised. Whereas our primary sites, both schools now, they're quite quirky. They're not sort of run-of-the-mill buildings. They say the teachers are personalising them. So they're sort of very warm, places for parents to come. And a lot of parents have always said, this is what I want, because in primary, it's about the teaching, it's about the children being happy, it's about them enjoying where they are. So the sites that we have in primary actually serve a completely different purpose to, say, the secondary site. But now we have, if you like, the full Monty, because they have the wonderful sites, the sort of homely sites in primary. But the parents now know that their children can then move on to secondary into a state-of-the-art building where the children will have the best opportunity to achieve their potential.
Yeah, I mean, it's curious when we talk about technology and things like this in schools. What's also really important is adaptability, having places that young people can go to be entertained and entertain. So where the secondary building, very much like also both of the primary schools, there are things there for children to do. So they're not hanging around and they're not hanging on their phones. Shortly, there will be 4 table tennis tables will be placed in the secondary school. Children love table tennis. It's just an absolute, it's like an obsession with them. There's also intended to put in a climbing wall around the back of a beautiful fronton court that we had there. There is a running track that runs through it. You watch the GCSE and A-level students actually running and exercising before they do their activities. The idea is to have them engaged, to have us be able to put them in a place where they're not bored during their breaks. And I know that sounds a bit offline, but it's really for them to think away from the phone, away from something else like that they can be drawn to so easily. It's a very easy fix, is your phone. But when you put table tennis tables in and you put exercise units in there, children prefer that. They actually do prefer that. They enjoy it. So the site is evolving, and it will take. I would imagine, when we come and talk to you in 6 months' time, we'll be able to show you a little bit more. But I was talking to one of your colleagues downstairs, Josh, who did a great video for us before we actually opened, and he's going to pop back, and Steve will show him and everyone around the primary school buildings, and Mike and myself, we will have a look at the secondary school, because currently we can't invite anybody to the sites to see them.
No, sure. Yeah, that will be an interesting compare and contrast, because they were still finishing off, obviously, that video, the first one, but you could see it coming along, and you could get an idea of the size and just the area it's in. It's great views and everything. Did you Bagsy the office you wanted? I can't remember.
I have an office in our primary school. Actually, I don't have an office in the new school. I do go and annoy Mike Mills, the head there, quite frequently.
Yes,
and perch on the edge of his desk. But no, I'm not on time. Though I'm there every day. It's very important to be available to everybody, to staff and the children, and it's just nice to see them in all of the sites using. I mean, the Littleys in our actual primary and in infants, it's just gorgeous. What Sam Evans has done there is just breathtaking. I mean, she's our former head girl, has come and done some painting and some murals down there. It is beautiful. So it's people who are who have been through our college, have a great affinity and a great calling to try and continue and leave their mark in the right way.
Do the children have any input on the design of the place, what they got up on? I mean, they've probably got their things up on the wall like you'd have on your fridge at home, those sort of paintings, but any little slogans and things? Well,
curious that you should ask, is that we have a young lady who's working with us in our middle school, Natalia, and she's a phenomenal artist, and during the course of half term, she will start a massive mural that is on the that will be painted onto the fronton court that is in the new site. And the whole idea about that is to put into pictures the values that are within XIC. And she will be taking advantage of a whole host of our children who will then be able to make their mark. You don't want to be writing your name in the back of a loo door. You want to be putting something beautiful into your school,
Absolutely.
So you can be remembered, and you will remember. So the idea is to involve them in it for the future. We do want the children hugely involved in what is going to be their school, their college. Right now, we're looking at making the uniform even more adaptable and more wearable for the youngsters. We are in a modern world. I believe in a uniform. I think it's a great thing to have. I think it's also gives you great belonging to your college. Right now, the children like the uniform that they have, and they wear it, and you see it worn around the town. It's great, but we want it to we want to adapt that also to their daily use. So we will be bringing some different styles for them to have a look at and for them to share with us what they would like to wear. Also remembering where we live. You know, we live in a country that is very, very hot in the summer. It can get very cold in the winter. Mm-hmm. So they have to have the appropriate attire to come to school in. So from that to many other things in the college, it's better to get their advice first up, because then you won't get it wrong.
Right. I'll tell you, just coming back to the arts side of things, you must be used to, as experienced, both of you, spotting certain talents in very young folk sometimes. You can sort of see, oh, hang on, there's something there. Because people that could draw, because I'm hopeless, you can learn a little bit about drawing, you know, something in perspective, whatever. But some people just do it, don't they? 4 or 5 years old.
Phenomenally.
Extraordinary. There's always a couple in your school that they just do it. And you think, how do they do that?
I think one of the lovely things, Moody, is that you have children who are quite academic in terms of the core subjects. You have children who are less academic but very creative. And the lovely thing is that you can meet their needs equally. Yes, of course, we continue to teach them so that they can do the best that they can. But certainly if we have children within a year group who show a particular leaning towards the arts, now that's not just art in terms of drawing, but in drama and drama and things like that, then we use that, because one of the lovely things with children is children teaching children. You know, it's not something that all teachers do. It's something I very much believe in. Whenever I had a child that knew something about a subject more than I did, I would bring them out to the front of the classroom and say, right, I'm going to sit in your chair, I'm going to learn with the rest of you today. Yeah. So it's really about empowering these children to make the best of what they've got, but not just empowering them to use it, but to celebrate it as well. So we try to do that. I hope we do. I hope what we do is give these children the confidence to say, okay, I may not be great at maths, but boy, look at my 3D drawing, you know, and celebrate every child's success in whatever form that may take.
I mean, the obvious one is when people are more sporty than others, but there are certain things that send a shiver through me, because that's my alarm of a morning.
Is it? I'm
just
so sorry.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Oh, when you hear that any other time of the day, it's, someone had that as their ringtone once that worked here, and it's a shudder every time.
No, but he's talking about sport.
Yeah, but that sort of thing. But you must spot that at a very early age sometimes, something in someone, and you obviously try and, you wouldn't, you cover everything else with them, but maybe nurture that in a way.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And what is? I mean, I've seen over years that is wonderful. You may find, as Steve said just now, that there's a youngster who isn't particularly strong academically or in maths or whatever. Then you can, but you see that they have a great talent in sport or in drama or in art or something, or music or something like this. You can really enthuse that and bring that through in that young person, so that actually transfers into their academic work, and you see that work that they're doing in maths, in English, and in their sciences. It improves because it's a confidence game. We say again and again and again, it's a mind game, young people, and your mind and how your attitude towards whatever you do is key. You know, you may be enormously talented, but if you don't take advantage of it, unfortunately, you aren't going to enjoy the success that you otherwise should. So equally so, you've got young people who are not enormously capable academically, but they have huge attributes in other ways. And this is something that we want to nurture throughout the college, because as they start to get towards the sixth form, and they start thinking about the A-levels they're going to be doing and the courses they might do when they leave the school, we want to be able to engage them in different careers. So we are putting together right now a group of people who advise youngsters in a massive array of different careers, from broadcasting to finance to medicine and architecture. And it's not what is the qualification required, it is what is the journey that you will go on, and how did you get to where you are, as somebody who works in media, for example. Where did you start? Did you go to do an apprenticeship in a small radio station, or did you go and work on a newspaper? These things are really key, because young people don't know. You can say, go and Google it, go and have a check it, but it's not as interesting as speaking to somebody who's actually lived that experience. It's something that the college is really, really focusing on. And when Steve talks about what is happening in our primary school, the thing that is joyful, absolutely joyful, is there are values and there are standards and there are requirements, but the vast majority of the day is spent trying to encourage and bring on the confidence of young people. And if they have the confidence to put in that toolkit that they take to secondary, my goodness, that is absolutely vital.
I missed a trick there. I should have gone. Phones off in the studio, please. What's the policy on phones at the school? Do they have them in?
They do have them, but they're off during any lesson time.
Right. Yeah, I did wonder, because I know some take them into a big bag at the start, and you get it back at the end of the day.
Yes,
but you'd sort of, there's a bit of trust there.
It depends whether it is being abused.
Right.
If it is being abused, then we talk to young people. But then again, once you have to have that respectability or respectfulness, of a young person. I think young people nowadays, and it's very easy for me to say because being a dinosaur and using my phone as a phone.
How about that?
They don't. So when you want them to try and respect the fact that their time is valuable, massively valuable, and from what I see is young people can drift into that phone and it can be quite addictive. So there are other things that they need to be doing. And I'm not saying homework, but there are other things that they need to be engaged in. And one of the things, we talk about in secondary all the time is when you write your personal statement, when you get to that stage to write that personal statement with the view to go to college or university, you want to be talking about the things that you've been brilliant at. And now I'm brilliant at looking at my phone. And YouTube and TikTok, well, that's not going to get you too far.
No, there's quite a few people who are very good at that, of course. But yeah, time management, there's a thing I'm not very good at, but I need to sort out these days. So I guess some of it will be out of your hands, but as far as the future goes, you got everything in place, you got the new school there.
Yeah.
Is it kind of wait and see?
No. It's not wait and see, it's make a difference. It's really important. What we have, Moody, and I think we've talked about this in the past, is we are very adaptable. We are a standalone college owned by shareholders who are extremely positive in what we are doing. We don't say, can we have such and such, or can we do so and so, unless we feel it's going to be something that's really positive for our children. So they very rarely say no. And in a business and an environment and a school, for us, the school comes first. We get that right. We get the product, which is a horrible word when we're talking about schools, but it's a fact. We get what we do right. We do evolve and develop and encourage colleagues to make to contribute good and positive ideas for our youngsters. And if we do that, the college will get stronger and stronger by every week. And with that, the shareholders are absolutely outstanding in their support for what we do, from the uniform to our extracurricular activities, to the trips that the children will be going on, to the training that staff need, to the facilities that we're requiring. We meet as a board fairly regularly. We are extremely adaptable. We are not a huge oil tanker that takes hours and takes days and weeks to move. We're like a small speedboat that can move around what we need and adapt ourselves to the situation. And that's where the support that we have with regard to things like tablets for the children allows them to work when we had seamlessly when we went into lockdown. And funnily enough, we talked about this, you and I, about what would happen should the school have to be closed for a day.
Yes.
Well, we were presented with a piece of paper from Amhasa, the water company, a couple of weeks ago, and told that they were going to close us the next day.
Oh.
Having spoken to them, said, please don't close us the next day, because we have to let our parents know what's going on. Okay, we won't close you on Thursday, we'll close you on Monday.
Right.
So they closed the school on Monday. We went straight back into the online teaching. Which is quite amusing, because you and I talked about if there happened to be some sort of situation where we had to close a school, and it worked seamlessly.
Yeah, A perfect example, and of course you'd had the practice at it,
exactly.
Building up to it. Yeah, okay. So that's maybe a hint of the future. There may be a little bit of the online stuff still there from time to time.
I think for us as a college, there's so many different things that people want from us, and what is interesting is we're hearing from more and more families that want to join us and sometimes can't. We're hearing from more and more families who want to our style of education, but remotely. So we're working on that, and it's something that I think is going to be an interesting development for the college. But right now, the Steve and I were talking before we came in here, and through the weeks actually with Mike in secondary, we are just so impressed with how the community have worked to bring us fairly seamlessly to where we are, so we can continue the education that is being delivered. We went through lockdown, and they were having their lessons as normal. Well, not as normal, but every lesson was being taught.
Yep.
So good for them, great for the community, and it's really sweet of you of Bay and Moody. Really, it's really good of you to come and let us talk about what we feel passionate about.
Not at all. It's always tremendous value is a phrase I use quite a lot, but it is true. And well done to everyone on their hard work.
Can I just add? We do congratulate the children. We do congratulate the staff, and they deserve it 100%. But we are an XIC family, and a big part of that family is our parents. They've been very supportive in what we've been doing in terms of getting the children back. They're very appreciative of what we're doing. They're very supportive, and they help us in whatever way they can. So, a really big thank you to our parents as well. And as always, thank you for BayRadio's continued support for the community. We were talking to your colleagues downstairs, who were a lifeline during COVID for an awful lot of people. And I think you continue to be so, because I think the fact that you are very good at giving us particularly the news, the Spanish news, but obviously a lot of people from the UK, they like to hear a bit of the UK news as well. So thank you for that, and keep up the good work. We love listening to you. Thank you, Moody.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, picking up. Absolutely. I totally support what Steve's saying. But the one of the lovely things about talking about the parents was the parents took time to write to the college and say how delighted they were with what has been happening that during the lockdown period, but very much since we went back to school. And it's very easy to go to a restaurant, love your meal, and walk out. It's really nice to say to the people who are in the restaurant, thank you, that was really pleasant, and I'll be back. That's one of the things that I must thank our community, thank our parent body, because they've done that. They've taken the time to put something in writing to us.
Not pen to paper these days.
I was going to say, I don't know, key to board.
Well, half term next week, of course. Of course, that'll be feet up for you with nothing to do.
Absolutely, without question.
But hopefully, we'll see you back in here soon. Just a bit of an update, and we'll get along to the site as well, and
I hope so.
do a bit of a virtual tour around both schools. Of course.
Well, I'd love it if you came, because then you really see it firsthand, in action, and you have to see it with the children in.
Yes, there's the difference. Yeah. So xic.college is the website for all the details. But we'll catch up with you soon, and we'll put this up on our YouTube channel to watch back in full quality there.
Thanks,
thank you both for coming in.